Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of HP Critical. It's a podcast where my friends and I talk all things gaming. Episode really long.
We've been doing this a minute. It's hard to keep track.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I had this whole thing about we're over 100 episodes and I can't believe we've been doing it for this long and all that, and a lovely little sentimental thing. But I ruined it, so I'm just gonna keep going and I'll save it for another episode. I'm joined today by Brand.
I'm gonna actually grab the baton real quick because it really doesn't feel that long. But then I remember our episodes that we had back when we did the console casters segment before Next Gen came out. So
yeah, which was 2 years ago.
It was. It's crazy. It's crazy to think we've been doing it that long, but here we are.
Yeah, and for those listening, I am talking to Brandon. Do you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone.
So once again, as of now, it's just Brandon and I for this week. Things are a little bit crazy at HP Critical headquarters, but we're rolling through. We're getting along. We have a lot of things to discuss today, including obviously the Nintendo Direct that happened this week, as well as the PlayStation State of Play that happened this week. But first, we're going to do a few really heavy-hitting gaming news items from the week, and then we're going to hop right into that because I'm sure that Brandon and I have a lot of things to say about the Direct as well as the PlayStation State of Play, and I can't wait to talk about them. So let's go ahead and get started, unless I'm missing anything. Am I missing anything? Is there anything else we need to announce? Our Patreon is closed currently. I think I've mentioned that before. It's going to be reopened hopefully in the future, but it's closed down for now. Lots of things have been happening, so we're not having a Patreon currently. Our website's getting a little bit of a revamp, so definitely if you haven't checked out hpcritical.com recently, we're going to have some more stuff up there for you guys to check out, so definitely go up there, check all those wonderful articles out that we're going to be having up soon. Our Twitch stream is there as well, so you can check out when we're going to be streaming, all that great stuff. You can also, obviously, if you want, use your Twitch Prime sub to subscribe to our Twitch. If you'd like, it does help. You can also subscribe directly to the podcast if you want to do that. That's also very helpful. But you know what? It's your money. Do what you want. Do what you want with it. And I think with that, I think I'll go ahead and move on. So a little bit of breaking news that I especially want to talk to you about, Brandon, is don't know if you know this, but so far about 25 of the 200 staff members of G4 TV have been let go.
Ooh,
apparently there's been no communication about what's going on. But G4 TV was hit with major layoffs less than a year after coming back. This is from Kotaku. It just got released a few hours ago, like 3 hours ago. The home of X-Play and other shows now on Twitch faces really big cuts. I will try to do a quick summary of this. Actually, no, I'll read the article for you at Kotaku. It says at least somewhere between 20 to 30 staff members were laid off at G4 TV today. According to 3 sources familiar with the business, the video game talk show network from the 2000s was resurrected last fall on streaming platforms like Twitch as well as cable TV, but now faces major upheaval less than a year later. I truly cannot imagine the company continuing to produce our slate of content without the people we lost today, said one employee. The timing and severity of the cuts took staff by surprise, with talent showing up on set today ready to film, only to have programming canceled as HR reps met individually with employees. While it's not clear what the extent of the layoffs will be, one source said those affected were told they would receive anywhere between 16 weeks and 6 months of severance based on their tenure with Comcast, which is G4's parent company. So I won't go into any more there, but basically they're at a point where if they come back to work on Monday, they don't even know if G4 will still exist as of right now. NBC Universal HR is going person by person, and cuts are coming as a surprise. These are all tweets and information from the article at Kotaku.com. They don't know how widespread the layoffs are going to be, but Comcast apparently is letting go of a lot of people over at G4 TV. So, Brandon, how do you feel about this? Because I know we talked about when it was coming back on the podcast previously, and less than a year later, they're laying people off, and we don't know if it's. I'm not saying it's not going to come back because we don't know, but we don't know if it's going to be here still by Monday. How are you feeling about this one? What do you think?
Yeah, wow, this is breaking news because I literally only saw this about right before I came onto the podcast. I was like, ooh. But yeah, no, as far as the news itself, it's a shame. It's a shame to hear these rampant layoffs. And I guess there must be like some behind the scenes reasons why this has happened. Like maybe they're not making enough money from advertisements. Maybe the views just aren't there. Because when they came back, they were pretty ambitious with how they came back. You know, they went to TV. It wasn't for every single cable network, but they came back to TV. They came to Twitch streams. They have their YouTube channel, which has like X Play stuff. So when they came back in like in a big way. So it is a shame to like see it kind of fall the way it is, and it really does hurt because looking at the like I've been keeping up with the X Play videos, not all of them because frankly not all of them interest me, but I have been like keeping up with like the reviews and like other like you know feature videos, I guess you could say that interested me, and they seem to be very passionate about it. The current staff that they have anyway, especially Jerel the Completionist, like him joining like G4 was like a dream come true for him. So to hear like this is like G4 may be gone as early as Monday. That's scary to hear about, honestly. And they recently came out with like this this skit show called God of Work, where Jerel the Completionist played like Kratos in like a very Office like satire comedy. So you know when you see them going for like a big scale production like that, you're like, wow, they must be doing really well. And then to hear this is like it feels like, oh wow, all right. Did y'all throw all your money into that? Now you can't afford to pay your people? Like what's going on here? Grayson's also in chat saying hello to us. Hey Grayson.
Hey, Grayson. So the article does go on to say that sources have told Kotaku that G4 TV finances have been in a bad shape for some time, and managers were tasked with looking for cost saving wherever possible. Things apparently came to a head during an all-hands meeting a couple of months ago when the then G4 president Russell Aarons discussed the troubles the business was facing and proposed unrealistic revenue goals for the year ahead. Staff felt blindsided due to the lack of clear goals for measuring success against up to that point. And then he left shortly after being replaced by Comcast Spectator CEO Joe Marsh. So there's been... And the article does go on to talk about the God of Work series that you were just talking about. I can't say that I'm too surprised about this, only because I remember when we first talked about G4 coming back, I remember saying, is there a place for what G4 is currently like on TV? Is there a place for what G4 is currently in the current state of how gaming news and game? Did I hang up the call? Okay, no. Okay.
No, you're still here. Also, Chrissy says hi.
Hey, Chrissy. Yeah, I you know, I was discussing like I don't know where G4 TV fits in all of this, and they've been trying a lot of new things, and apparently, no matter what they try, they're not making the money to sustain. So it's very interesting that Comcast would even. First of all, Comcast not giving them enough money to last a year is wild.
Yeah, that's
number one. But then also Comcast giving them enough money to just play around with and try new things, because I still feel like G4 has not found its footing even after a year. I don't know if you feel the same way, but every time I go on to, like, if I'm scrolling through Instagram or something and I see G4 TV, it's either like something interesting or something wildly ridiculous that I have no interest in watching. Like they will either be talking about video games or they're slapping each other. I literally don't know. It's always, and I know that it's different shows.
Yeah.
And I understand that each show has a different demographic that it's supposed to be trying to reach, but I feel like because they're so spread out and because they're so open, I only saw things that I was not interested in every time I scrolled by G4 TV on anything, and that made me not want to watch anything else from G4. Like that it was just really not, like, me personally, just not something I was looking for. And so when you're throwing money into things and they're not working, and then I saw like one guy was like cross-dressing and doing some impressions, and I was like, what is the show? Like, what is going on? Where are the video games? Like, what is the purpose of what is happening now?
I know. I'll say to that is like I don't follow the social media, and that's all I can say is like that attack. Like I've never been like all the stuff you're seeing is most likely from Attack of the Show. I have never been interested in that, even back in the OG4 days. Like when honestly, I'll just be completely transparent here. When I think of G4, both past and present, I think of X Play because I think of like that show and the gaming stuff. So when you say they haven't found its footing, I think there's truth to that, because what G4 used to be was like a variety of content that mostly catered to gamers. Now it just seems like be splitting its audience between the gamers and the weird nerd variety content that you see in Attack of the Show. And I think that's the major problem. Like XPlay has, in my opinion, has no problems right now. I think that channel has found its identity. It knows what it wants to do and is doing it very well. But yeah, if it's having to like basically be roommates with Attack of the Show, who I don't think is reaching that same kind of wild appeal, I think that's what's causing the issue here. I could be wrong, but clearly the money's not there, so I'm not really sure. I feel like this is just like tinfoil hat nonsense, but I feel like they probably should choose one or the other in this case, because it's like
that literally means getting rid of half of your staff on the other show, which is like essentially what they're doing right now, for all we know.
Which is not ideal, but like you said, might be what they're doing. Like, if they find something is not working, then that may even lead to more layoffs in the future, which none of us want, and certainly they don't want.
Yeah.
But that's the sad reality of what it may end up being, and I hope it doesn't. But this is stressing.
Yeah, it's been it makes sense to me, because every time I see them, I just really feel like even if one section does have its footing, the company as a whole does not. And that's kind of the issue.
Yes, exactly.
Like, you can't sustain if one of your subsidiaries isn't working. Moving on, Cards Against Humanity. Mm-hmm. This was on the 8th. So yeah, it has been a week. Cards Against Humanity is donating 100% of their profits to the National Network of Abortion Funds if the order comes from a state restricting abortion access. If someone selects I don't agree to this, if someone selects I didn't agree to this, then they will an additional $5 and donations is going to be added to their cart. So if you go on and you attempt to order from Cards Against Humanity from a state that does not that is restricting abortion access, I'll actually just read it to you. Someone from Texas ordered, and they got the message, fuck, you live in Texas, a theocratic hellscape where human beings are forced to carry unwanted pregnancies by threat of imprisonment. We're donating 100% of our profits from your order to the National Network of Abortion Funds. So you can either click OK, you can click give $5 more, we'll match it, or you can click what, I'm pro-life, I didn't agree to this. So if you click what, I'm pro-life, I didn't agree to this, you get another message that says, so you don't want us using your money to pay for abortions. Sometimes people have values imposed upon them by bigger, more powerful entities, and they're forced to do things they don't want to do, like carry an unwanted pregnancy. For example, we just added an extra $5 donation to the National Network of Abortion Funds to your cart. So yeah, first of all, I think this is a brilliant marketing scheme. I think it's a way to teach people that, like, if you don't want this happening to you, this is how it would feel, because you don't have a choice and it's something that's happening to you. And I think it's just a really interesting and awesome way for a game company to get involved in something and actually do something about it, especially being able to match donations as well. This is a really, really big deal, so I definitely wanted to bring that one up. Do you have anything on that you want to say?
Yeah, no, like I saw this like on socials, like back when you posted initially. I thought it was awesome. I'm also gonna echo what Chrissy had put on chat. It's a wonderful thing, honestly, that she's glad to donate for cards. Yeah, no, it's great. I'm glad that they're doing their own way to strike back against like this issue that's like plaguing many parts of our country right now. So no, I think it's awesome. I think it's a really cool. I love that they're donating, and only Cards Against Humanity as a company, frankly, I think could get away with doing something like this, because they're known for being like raunchy anyway. So like yeah, oh fuck, you live in a hellscape. Oh,
right. You didn't want to donate. Okay, well let me show you what that feels like.
Exactly. I love it. Absolutely love it.
So also interesting, PlayStation said that Xbox's Call of Duty offer was inadequate on many levels. Microsoft has offered for Call of Duty to remain on PlayStation for 3 years beyond the current deal. And Jim Ryan said that the offer was inadequate on many levels. The disagreement between the two companies follows Microsoft's offer to buy Call of Duty publisher Activision Blizzard in a deal worth, as we know now, nearly $69 billion. It's still being investigated and currently scrutinized by competitors' regulations. However, last week, Xbox revealed that it provided a signed agreement to Sony to guarantee Call of Duty on PlayStation with feature and content parity for at least several more years beyond Sony's extending contract with Activision. Xbox said this offer goes well beyond typical gaming industry agreements. So essentially, basically, what they're going to do is you've got this agreement with Activision Blizzard. We're going to meet that agreement, and then we have another agreement that's going to allow you for a few years after to continue on with having exclusivity in some form of Call of Duty, which is just going to be the same exclusivity as it has been before. So I'm not saying that it's exclusive to consoles, but just all the things that PlayStation got before Xbox and that contract. Xbox literally said, hey, we're going to allow you to do this for several more years on top of the current deal that you already have. The current deal with Sony and Activision Blizzard around Call of Duty is believed to cover the next 3 years of releases, including this year's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. However, Sony says the offer fails to consider the impact on PlayStation gamers. Quote, I hadn't intended to comment on what I understood to be a private business conversation, but I feel the need to set the record straight because Phil Spencer brought this into the public forum, Ryan stated. Microsoft has only offered for Call of Duty to remain on PlayStation for 3 years after the current agreement between Activision and Sony ends. After almost 20 years of Call of Duty on PlayStation, their proposal was inadequate on many levels and failed to take account of the impact on our gamers. We want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality of Call of Duty experience, and Microsoft proposal undermines this principle. This is from GameIndustry.biz. Brandon! Jim Ryan said, I want to talk about this in front of everybody, but Phil Spencer wants to bring it up in front of everybody. So now I'm going to tell you, we've had Call of Duty for 20 years, and you think that giving us an additional 3 years is enough? No, it's not. How you feel about this?
Man, I need to bring my empty salt shaker because Jim Ryan sounds like he could fill it up for me real quick. That's how I feel about all this, honestly. Xbox out here paying their money, and Jim Ryan's like, only 3 more years? Did you spend that money to get Activision Blizzard, Jim Ryan? No, I don't think so, man. So, like, you're out here complaining, oh, man, we can't have this thing that we didn't really pay for anymore. We just thought we would just have this deal in perpetuity? Nah, fam. Xbox out here throwing out their big cards, and Jim Ryan wants to act like they're not playing a game no more. Like, I get it. From a business standpoint, I do get it. Like, but I don't like that he's framing it. I don't like that he's framing it as like, oh, you see, Xbox spent money to make the gamers sad. Like, man, like you're talking about, like, you're not out here monopolizing Call of Duty deals for like 20 years. Like, he's mentioned those 20 years of like that Call of Duty has been around. Yeah, that's 20 years that you're out here like making like these exclusive things you could only do on PlayStation, or talking about other, or if we're even going beyond this specific Call of Duty thing, talking about like, we're not going to allow crossplay because games are best played on the PlayStation systems. So for him to go out of his way and be upset about this now feels very hypocritical to me, honestly. It just feels like that's kind of how I feel about it. I'm just hearing all this, and I'm just
oh
like,
my god.
Chrissy was on chat. Great time for a Sony studio to make something better.
I completely disagree with everything you're saying, Brandon.
Oh, really? Talk to me about it. Oh, hold on. Wait, before you speak, Chrissy put another message saying, contracts are also important, so we won't know what's on the fine print on the contracts. But she hates that gaming is starting to feel like a monopoly with Microsoft and Sony purchasing multiple studios.
I disagree with everything you said because, one, first of all, if I was PlayStation, I would not want to buy Activision Blizzard. They were going through too much shit anyway, period. Like, I don't think that buying Activision Blizzard is necessarily a smart move for anyone. I feel like they should have been and continue to be the independent company that they were. Because if ever there was a monopoly on buying a company, Activision Blizzard was that, because like to date this has been and probably will be the biggest acquisition, because we've already talked when Kelly was here just about the games themselves and what they represent for gaming. World of Warcraft and Overwatch and Call of Duty, like all and all the King titles, like we've already discussed how important and impactful that is. So this is a huge dent in gaming for as far as acquisitions go. Like, this is a huge loss for gamers in general. If things become exclusive, 1, 2, PlayStation is in the game to sell PlayStation consoles. Xbox is not. So, like, they're also on two different playing fields from this. Of course, PlayStation is going to want to keep exclusives because they want to sell their console. Xbox doesn't care. They just want you to play. They don't care where you play. So, of course, they're going to come at it from different business standpoints. Also, Call of Duty doesn't really have any like real exclusives that would bar people from playing on Xbox. If this contract after 3 years, if they decide that they want to then make Call of Duty exclusive, that's fucked up for everybody who plays on PlayStation. So it technically can be an issue for gamers. And I think if I've had a contract with a company for as long as PlayStation has had a contract with Call of Duty, and they weren't looking to buy them out as a company, you don't have to look to buy someone out to have a contract with them. I think that's okay. I don't think they needed to have to go out of their way to be like, I want to purchase you before anybody else does so that I can keep my exclusivity. However, if I have had such a contract with you for so long, I would feel like, yeah, this is a freaking like slip of the rug under my feet when I find out that I've had this contract for you, and now like that loyalty that we've built together from the contracts that we've had might be fucked up in 3 years' time after 20 years of partnership because somebody else came and bought you. And I might not have been looking to buy you. Like, that's the other thing. We don't know if PlayStation was looking to buy Activision Blizzard. And if they were, I think it's good that they didn't. I don't think anybody should have bought them. I think they're too big of a company. And I completely disagree with everything you said. I just see it I see it as, yeah, that's it. I'm done because I don't want to spend too much time on this.
Well, I was going to say, like, I don't even disagree with what you're saying. I think there was a misunderstanding here because I agree with everything you said. The thing is, I'm not even necessarily saying that it was a good thing that Activision Blizzard got bought out because you're right, it's a big company. It's too big a company for it to be bought out by like one of the big three, in my opinion. I was more talking about Jim Ryan's position on the whole issue is what I was talking about because he's speaking of it.
He has the right to be upset.
He does have the right to be upset, but he's trying to frame it as if he's speaking from the perspective of what you just said about what he's saying is not incorrect. I think that's the main thing, but from a man of his position to make the statement, you can't help but feel there's like just a little bit of sting there. Like I stand by what I said that he's like salty as hell, and not just because of the general gamer stuff, but also just the fact that he's businessman that's losing out on something that he like didn't have a monopoly over. Like monopoly is not the right word because PlayStation never had a monopoly on the Call of Duty series ever. They just had a monopoly on certain content depending on the entry of the game, and it doesn't feel sincere. I think that's what it really comes down to. Like he's saying the right things, but I don't think it's coming from the right place.
The man literally said, I'm only bringing this up because Phil Spencer brought it out to the open. It was private conversations that we were having that he brought out, so now I have to say something about it.
Yeah, no.
I would be salty too if I'm having private conversations with you and then you blast them in front of everyone and now I have to try to defend my stance without sounding like a hater. And then you're going to come and say I sound salty anyway. That's crazy.
Exactly. So Phil Spencer...
That is crazy.
It was a lose-lose situation, and he lost. That's all.
Oh my god! I'm gonna move on. This is mind-boggling. What is going on here?
Christy has said a few things on chat. She's saying, "Isn't Activision Blizzard Microsoft being investigated in like New York for using a merger to shield them against the allegations?" And also, and she also said that Jim Ryan phrased it poorly.
I don't see it phrased poorly at all. I don't see a single problem with what he said. Like I don't see how y'all think that's phrased poorly. I think it's a shitty deal. All he said was I think this is a shitty deal, and he has every right to say I think this is a shitty deal because if I've had a partnership with them for 20 years and then you come back and you're like, all right, well you get 3 years more. Like, excuse me, are you fucking serious? This is a shitty ass deal, and he should have. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna just run through some more things and not a lot. There was a lot at D23 that we still haven't discussed. However, there were some casting conversations that were brought up, including Lee Jung-jae, who has been cast as the male lead in The Acolyte, and Iman Esfandi, who will be officially playing Ezra Bridger in Ashoka, the series. I think those are the only two I have for Star Wars now, if you want to mention those really quickly.
I do, because, the first one is mentioning, so the actor that's playing the lead in The Acolyte is, to to international audiences, most well known for playing the lead character in Squid Game, which of course made a big splash last year on Netflix. He's before that show came out, he was well known in his home country of Korea, but that's the first
He's a
time.
huge Korean actor, yeah.
Exactly. So that definitely wasn't as like his first big role, but it's the first role that most people overseas know him for. But it's he's getting the Donnie Yen treatment. I'm calling it, because Donnie Yen was famous for his Ip Man movies in China, and then he got international fame with Star Wars. Ironically enough, the same thing. Like, I think Donnie Yen's like one of his first like big movie outside of the Ip Man series was like his appearance in Rogue One, and now it seems to be happening with this actor as well for the Acolyte. And then the other actor, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not familiar with the actor. I'm just happy that we got a confirmation that Ezra is going to appear in the new Star Wars Ahsoka show, because I won't go into too details for those who are not caught up on the show. I don't want to spoil nothing, but Ezra being in the show is important because it's gonna tie up a loose end that's been active for going on 5 years now, that I'm looking forward to finally see resolved in some way. So yay, Ezra.
All right, we've got like 5 more minutes left and a lot of news to cover in that, so I'm gonna try to do this real quick before we move on to the presentations. Um, Starting with Ubisoft, who like keeps just doing weird things. Actually, yeah, let's start with Ubisoft. Yeah. So Ubisoft is launching a 5-year plan to improve racial, ethnic, and cultural diversity within its studios and the wider company. This was an article over at IGN.com written by Ryan Dinsdale. There was a report by GI.biz that a Ubisoft blog post delved into how the Assassin's Creed and Far Cry publisher is planning to evolve its workplace culture, one of which is through a new initiative called Project Rise. It looks to diversify Ubisoft staff by increasing the number of people from different backgrounds, focusing in particular on gender equality, race and ethnicity, LGBTQIA inclusion, and disability inclusion present at different parts of the company. Over the course of the next 5 years, we will focus on 3 key areas: talent acquisition, internal talent development, and external talent pipeline development. We know we have room for growth when it comes to the representation of racial, ethnic, and cultural diversity, both within Ubisoft and the gaming industry at large. This is from the VP of Global Diversity, Rashi Sika. With this in mind, we created a multi-year strategy called Project Rise to ensure that Ubisoft better reflects the diversity of our players with a focus on racial, ethnic, and cultural diversity. So, of course, this was met with lots of differing opinions on the matter. Some people were saying, great, this is another reason to skip Ubisoft games. Most people were asking, is this going to improve the quality of the games? Or, Ubisoft should make a 5-year plan to make better games. And then there were other people that were saying, I hope diversity will reflect on all cultures. But a lot of the comments were, while there were some positive comments, a lot of the comments were, maybe you guys should focus on making better games instead of diversity hires. And let me just say that usually when you have a diverse group of people, you end up making better games for everyone, especially because different people are bringing different aspects to the situation. But before we talk about this one, there's another piece on Ubisoft that I want to bring up as well. There's a new interview with Yves Guillemot.
Yeah.
Sorry. In which he suggests that some reports of sexual misconduct and toxic management in Ubisoft arose from generational differences over acceptable workplace behavior. So, first we hear the good news of them trying to do this wonderful hiring Project Rise, where they're going to increase over the next 5 years diversity and inclusion in all aspects at Ubisoft. And then this interview comes up, and it kind of puts things on a difficult spot, is what I will say. Because essentially, okay, I'll just read to you what it says here. When he was asked why this happened at his company, Guillermo founded in 1986 with his brothers, he says, "We were not organized enough to detect the problems and resolve them." He floated that some problems emerged because of generational differences. The company was running and there was ways things were done, and then there was a new young generation coming into the company with different needs, and we had to adapt. I think we didn't adapt fast enough to what people expected and needed. This article is at axios.com if you want to check out the whole thing. He also goes on to note that Ubisoft did not get in the way of the start of a worker union in its Swedish studios. He said the most important thing for us is to make sure that communication is as efficient as possible. And I think there was another one that I wanted to. Yeah, the one that I mentioned, he said generational differences were the issue. They didn't adapt fast enough, and he mentioned that as a response to why there have been some sexual misconduct allegations. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop there because I'm a little over time with this one. But just to be fair, no one has accused Guillermo directly of misconduct. He says he felt betrayed in 2020 by those close to him when he heard all of this, without naming names, obviously. Quote, "You realize that things happened very close to you that you wouldn't accept had you known about them. You're upset by the fact that it could happen and that you didn't see it." Um, yeah, so I'm going to stop there. You can check out the rest of it at axios.com. We would have a longer conversation on it, but we got a lot to get through. How does this make you feel, Brandon? What do you think about what he said, and their initiative, both their diversity initiative and what he said based on this article?
Yeah, so the initiative are to champion diversity is obviously a noble goal, and like you said, it can only make the games better because that's more opinions from more broader audience that you can get for, and then also better represent the audience that is also playing your games as well. So that can only help. I think it's a good thing, and I think those. I mean, obviously, there's some obvious problems with people who hear this and be like, "Why don't you just make your games better instead?" There's obvious problems there, even on the surface of it. But it's also very short-sighted to say because, like you said, if there's more diversity, then your games are just going to be better naturally, and I truly believe that. Now, regarding the second statement, Guillermo's statement on this whole state of affairs. Unfortunately, I think it's just kind of like paints a dark picture of like society in general. Like generational is a very big factor in how certain people treat each other. Unfortunately, the way people treated each other 30 years ago is not at all how we treat each other today, for both better and worse, quite frankly, because I think there's things that the old generation did better, and there's other things that the old generation did worse, far worse. Just to give a nice blanket statement on the whole thing. I'm not. The easiest way to say is like I'm not really satisfied with his statement. If I'm just being perfectly honest, like I'm glad that a statement is being made, but just to say there's like, well, generational differences is causing. I'm oversimplifying it, of course, but still, it's just it's not something you really want to hear. Like there's a lot of things you want to hear when a statement of addressing these kind of things are made, but may not necessarily be that one.
Exactly. Honestly, the second statement of him saying, generational differences and we just didn't catch up makes me feel like they should just not even do the 5-year initiative. Because what always ends up happening is that if you do something like this 5-year initiative and you bring people on who are diverse, who are not a part of what is already there at Ubisoft, what ends up happening is that those marginalized people, do not end up being accepted, or they don't necessarily get the help that they need, or the support that they need within Ubisoft, because they are othered by those people there. And if you can let it happen if you can let the sexual harassment claims and all this other stuff happen to the white people in your company already and claim it on generational differences, I can only imagine what is going to happen to all the POC people that are hired over the next 5 years, who are not going to get the same type of insurance or treatment just because they are not white. And they can be considered, diversity hires by some of the people that are there, and it could cause a lot of issues. And then if your excuse is just, we just didn't catch up quick enough, look at all these wonderful POC and LGBT that we bought on that are having a horrible time. We're just trying to catch up. It's just generational differences. What can you do? But we do want to work them, and we want their help, and we want their input, and we want them to help us be better, but we can't be bothered to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my little tit tat on that. Um, Toby Fox is going to be replacing the Sakurai Famitsu column.
Yeah, that's wild. So, for context, for those who didn't know, Sakurai has been doing a column on Famitsu since I want to say around the time that Melee launched. Like he was doing it for a long time, and it wasn't. Ironically enough, it was around the time that Sora came to Smash, therefore concluding the development of that game, that he also retired from the Famitsu column that he had been doing for almost 2 decades. Um, so that of course left a nice little blank spot in Famitsu's column, and they're choosing Toby Fox apparently to replace it with, and that's crazy. That they're having Toby Fox do it. Like, not crazy in the sense that obviously Toby Fox has proven himself in recent years to be a stellar developer and also a great musician because he composes the music and he does these Undertale and Deltarune games by himself basically. So and the fact that he's able to like get such a worldwide phenomenon and now he's doing music for Pokemon like he's earned the spot. It's just crazy that it's just crazy that there's a lot of Japanese developers that could have gone on the Famitsu side. So for them to open it to Toby Fox, who's like a foreigner to them, I think it's pretty cool. Actually, Drew, I want to ask you a question. If you could think of like any Japanese developer, who would you have put on the to replace Sakurai on the Famitsu column of all people?
No one.
You would have just left it open.
Yep.
Interesting.
I don't think I would have replaced him.
I'm interested in seeing what kind of stuff that Toby has to say because Toby is kind of a bit of a recluse in terms of gaming. He'll come off, tweet about some stuff that he enjoys, go quiet, say, "Hey, Deltarune thing, goodbye," just like.
And that's why I wouldn't have replaced him with Toby Fox. Sakurai has a presence, and also he is an entity. This man is a man who like has his own company that he runs single-handedly, but he also outputs work to other companies under Nintendo. Like he's the only person who does what he does in the most amazing way, and there's no one that I can think of that could replace him, especially not Toby Fox, because his credentials, you say, are Pokemon music and Deltarune, and what was the other one?
Undertale.
Yeah, that's not to me. That's not someone that I would replace. And that is not me saying that Toby Fox is not great. I know he has a ton of huge fans. His games are amazing. His Pokemon music is awesome. I'm always excited to hear music from him because I think he's brilliant. But I don't think that constitutes for him to be taking over a Famitsu column, and that just leaves me with wondering why Toby Fox.
I don't know. Maybe the Famitsu audience. I don't know what went behind the scenes of them choosing Toby Fox. I'm saying like when I say when I think of like them choosing him, it wasn't even necessarily like that he hasn't earned it per se. It's just why him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
no, that's what I'm saying as well. Yeah.
yeah. But
Um,
yeah, maybe the Famitsu readers really liked him and they just wanted to have him on there. Toby Fox like apparently is like acquaintances with Sakurai even they when they put the Sans Me costume in Smash a long time ago, he even mentioned that Toby Fox made a remix of Megalovania for the Sans costume, and he said they even had some matches with Toby Fox in his house. I'm like, what? Apparently they're just bros, I guess. That's okay.
so I'm gonna move on because we are 20 minutes over. 10 minutes over the time though. This is gonna transition into the direct, which hopefully we have enough time to talk about. 3.45 million units of Splatoon 3 has been sold, making it the biggest launch for a video game in Japan, outdoing Animal Crossing New Horizons by over 700,000 units. The first Splatoon sold 150,000 units the week it came out and went on to sell 1.8 million. I'm going to repeat that, 3.45 million units. It is bigger than the Animal Crossing New Horizons launch by over 700,000 units.
It can't be overstated just how big Splatoon is in Japan.
That is like it's it's unfathomable. Just period. For that many amount of units to be sold in Japan is like unfathomable. And we can look at the list that I posted, which is the biggest video game launches in Japan. Um, 3.45 million is Splatoon 3. 2.68 million is Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number three with 2.63 million is Pokemon Black and White. And then Final Fantasy 8, Dragon Quest, Monster Hunter, Pokemon, Final Fantasy 7, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy. You see the pattern here is pretty much Pokemon, Final Fantasy, Monster Hunter, Dragon Quest. Like, those four are going to be in the top sellers in Japan. The fact that Splatoon 3 came out of nowhere, Splatoon 2 is not even on this list. The fact that Splatoon 3 came out of nowhere and rose to the top of that is pretty amazing, and I can't wait to see how they keep up the momentum, because I won't talk about my personal experience with Splatoon 2, although I have been able to play with one friend, which was Nolan, and it was a great time, but I ended up, I don't know, maybe Brandon, you can tell me, but I feel like I always have this issue when I join a party in Splatoon. When you play with friends, if it's not a full party, they'll split you, so you might not be on the same team as your friend. And I had that issue with Splatoon 2, and I'm still having it in Splatoon 3, and it's really dumb to me.
Yeah, no, it happens in 3 occasionally. Like, unless you like specifically like squad up together, then that will occasionally happen. That you will occasionally, some matches you'll be on the same team, and sometimes you'll be against each other. That's not something that I personally have an issue with per se, but I know it can be like. Christy's also saying on chat that she hasn't finished. She has to finish the single player for Splatoon 2, and she hasn't played Splatoon 3 at all yet.
I didn't even play Splatoon 2 single player.
I sound muted on the stream?
Now I can hear you now, but it did look like you were muted for a little bit.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, well, if it sounds good now, that's good.
Yeah, Splatoon 3 is a thing. Anyway, let's move on to the Nintendo Direct. I'm not gonna have the time to go over everything, so I'm just gonna go ahead and let you talk about the biggest announcements for you and what you thought what you thought about the presentation as a whole, and then I'll do the same. How's that?
Hold on, Chrissy said the greatest direct according to Jerel.
I did, and I will explain why it is the greatest direct when it's my turn to talk. It was the best direct ever.
Well, right off the bat, if we're just talking about the biggest announcements, then of course I have to lead off with
just everything that you enjoyed.
Yeah, okay, but it led off with like one of my favorite announcements, which was the new Fire Emblem game. I'm really excited with the way it looks like. Fire Emblem Engage. The name has to grow on me a little bit, I will say. I think the gameplay will justify why it's called that. But when I think about all the cool subtitles we've had in the Fire Emblem series up to this point, Engage is like, But anyway, I'm interested in seeing how they introduce like the past Fire Emblem heroes as like mechanics. Like they're doing like some Tokyo Mirage Session stuff where you like fusing with the Fire Emblem characters to do like attacks, but then you also get to talk to them. And Christy, of course, brought up something I was going to bring up as well, that the characters are being referred to by the fan base as Colgate-chan and Pepsi-kun, or Pepsi-chan and Colgate-chan, or kun, whatever. The color, I don't hate the hair color, but I do love the memes that are coming around with it. I'm just interested to see more, and we don't have to wait long. That comes out in 4 months, so that'll be cool. Next announcement that really caught my interest was...
You know what I'll do, actually? I'll just... If there's something that you announce that I wanted to talk about, I'll just join you. Okay. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, go for it.
Since you brought up Engage, I'm very disappointed in it.
Really? What's
most people might not know this, but I don't like tactical RPGs very much. They're not really my thing. The only reason that Fire Emblem Three Houses was one of my favorite games of all time was strictly because of the story. And that made me appreciate the tactical RPG moments. Like, I didn't like them before. Now I kind of like them, which is still why I haven't started Triangle Strategy. I kind of like them now. However... this story didn't grab me at all. I was like, what is this? I don't care. It was a lot of I don't care. So I'm very disappointed that it wasn't like as... when I tell you the trailers for Three Houses were so engrossing, and having to pick side, and even the other Fire Emblem game that I can't remember that I also played, where you had to choose to either be like which family you were gonna pick. What's that game
Fates.
called?
Fire Emblem Fates.
Yes, Fates, Fire Emblem Fates. The reason I played that one, I was like, oh shit, the story's intriguing. Like, are you gonna go with the family that adopted you, or are you gonna go with the family that you were born to? Like, holy shit, I don't know. Let's play and find out what I'm gonna choose. Three houses, like what house am I gonna go with? Only to find out, holy shit, there's a war. Like, oh my god, things are going crazy. This is amazing. This one, oh, let's call Marth and Fuse. Dope.
Chrissy's mentioning on chat, if there's a remake or remaster for the Tellius games that you may enjoy them, the story relates to this day, is what she says. Well, at least Ike will be in this game. I'm interested. That's all I got.
At least Ike will be in there.
Ike and Micaiah of the Tellius games, and Sigurd, I guess. Yeah, I guess we'll see more. The story is it's like you said, Jerel. Like the last few Fire Emblem Fates and Three Houses specifically were very much like gray in terms of its storylines, and like there's the different perspectives of what you're going. This definitely, like, for better or for worse, definitely seems to be going towards the more traditional. There is a clear threat here that must be stopped. I'm sure there'll be some nice nuance in the middle of the story, but as far as like the grand story itself, I can't disagree. It does seem like, here's the dark dragon that must be slain.
Yeah.
Here's protagonist with the sacred sword chosen by the fate to destroy them.
Yeah, one of the things I didn't like about Dragon Quest 9 or 11, excuse me, was that it was just so rote, basic JRPG, like you know exactly what's going to happen, and I feel like Engage is looking like it's going to be the same thing. I'm actually just going to go ahead and list some things here, and then if there's a game that I don't mention, then you can bring it up if that's okay.
Yeah, go list some stuff.
So they're not going to be in order. So I'm just going to go in order of what I have here, which next is Pikmin 4.
Okay, yeah, I'll talk a little about that after you.
I have nothing to say about Pikmin 4, so go ahead.
Oh, sure, for.
Sorry.
I just want to mention this real quick because I will say, like, this. I'm talking. I know we're going to talk about the direct overall in a little bit. I just want to say that overall, I think it was paced pretty well. I have more to say about the content, but the pacing was overall good until Miyamoto came on. I love Miyamoto dearly, but then he came on and talked about Pikmin Bloom, this game that's been out for a year already for like 5 minutes. And even as someone that to this day still plays Pikmin Bloom because I walk a lot naturally, so I play it because it's just a nice little walking companion. Even I didn't want to hear this. I was just like, bro, I already play this just because I walk a lot. I don't want to hear about any more of this. Especially since he wasn't announcing anything new for the game. He was just giving an overview because he said, hey, if Miyamoto advertises Pikmin Bloom, maybe people will actually listen. But people were too busy waiting for Pikmin 4, which, hey, that's what got announced afterwards. Glad that game actually still exists because people were memeing that, hey, it's the 9-year anniversary or whatever of Miyamoto saying Pikmin 4 is almost done. And so for him to just kind of just be like, hey, here it is.
It's here, yeah.
Yeah. Friend of HP Critical, Brandon of Dragon Ball Speak, is a huge Pikmin fan, and he's definitely excited for it. I have to catch up on the Pikmin series. I like what I've played. So yeah, cool.
All right. So next up was Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe.
Yeah.
I have nothing to say about this one either, but if you do have something, go ahead. But make it quick.
I do. I enjoyed the Wii game a lot, but I never finished this, so this will be my chance to. I like the art style that they're going with, where it has this kind of like. Do you remember, Jerel, when you and I played Kirby's Dream Land 3, where it had like that crayon art style? It's a nice little mix of that. It has like a little mix of like the original style, but also like this like hand-drawn style. It's not really hand-drawn, but like over it and a few new features. No, I'll definitely look forward to it. It sucked. It didn't. I don't think there's gonna be online play, and that's. But it looks fun nonetheless.
Well, I'm just gonna keep sounding like a Nintendo hater. I literally don't care about Kirby's Return to Dreamland. I'm happy it's coming back for people. I was like, what is going on? Like, I don't know. I don't know. But I'm very happy that it's coming back for people that didn't get a chance to play it. And it looks really cute, but it just is not my.
I just think that's coming out in February before other games that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, so let's move on to the biggest and best announcement of the Direct that no one can disagree with me with because it's just facts, and that was Octopath Traveler 2, which was announced with new heroes. Same HD 2D art style, and it looks so freaking amazing, and I'm so excited to play it.
Oh my god.
I already have complaints, but I also am already just I'm taking the day off. I'm playing Octopath all day. Anyone who knows me knows I love the original Octopath, and this one I'm super excited to have. Go ahead.
I'm just so happy by the way it looks because, of course, it's like the first one. It's the HD 2D style, but they've learned so much. They have learned so much. Like between Triangle Strategy and especially Live Alive, which looks incredible in the HD 2D style. Like this just somehow looks even better with that art style. So I'm just excited for how it's going to look. Now, Drew, I know we're kind of going through this quick, but I need to ask you. Obviously, and I want to tell this both to you and everyone who's listening to the podcast, that how you answer this is not set in stone because obviously they have a lot of advertisement to do with this game. But based on just this trailer, who do you think you're going to start with?
Oh, I don't. This is. Ooh. I don't. I can't say. Like, I will say that I already have my party picked out because I always, I was just talking about how much I love story. And I already know that there are some stories of characters that I'm going to 100% want to experience. So I can tell you, Hikari, Oswald, Throne, and Casti are the four that I'm like, oh my god, I really want to play them. What I do appreciate about this game, which I also don't like, I appreciate it, but I don't like it, is that they seem to kind of switch the personalities around this time around. So, you had like Ulbrich, the big warrior like type dude is now that type of personality is kind of seen on the scholar this time around.
Yes.
And the Primrose. The Primrose as a dancer, her backstory was really dark and things were really hard for her, and now that whole persona is on the thief now. And the dancer this time around is just the Tressa happy-go-lucky vibe, and I was like, this is really interesting, but also rip because I hated Tressa, but I love dancer. It's like one of my favorite classes, and so the dancer is not on my list this time. And I was like, dang, I don't know if I'm gonna care. But also, the mechanics of being able to have different day and night cycles change your actions or give you different actions based on day and night. That's super awesome. A lot of people complained about not being able to have the story intertwined, so they're like, here, the stories are going to intertwine this time. They basically addressed all the issues I think that haters had, while also just making the game better. And I can't wait to play this on the OLED. I'm so ready to spend so many hours. Also, it's finally I keep waiting for traditional turn-based RPGs. Name another one for me.
Yeah, there's not a whole
like this is all I've got, and this is another reason why I love Octopath Traveler, because it's like in this modern day and age, we have very few turn-based. Persona and Octopath are the two that are just on the top of my head. We have very few, so seeing more get done, come out, be better is awesome. Did you have anything else on Octopath?
Yes.
Also, who are you starting with?
Oh, I'm I'm most likely going to start with Oswald because I love the scholarly type characters in general, but also his story just from that little snippet
It
in the
was
trailer.
it's
so gripping. Like he's got he seems to be, he got framed for killing his wife and kids. I'm like, whoa. Hold up, this is way different from Cyrus. Even though I love Cyrus, but like I want to know how this story goes. So I'm probably gonna start with Oswald.
That's also
him
my
or the
issue.
merchant whose name I can't remember now, just because I like the merchant's design. But
that's also my issue with Octopath. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's also my issue with Octopath, which is like some of these stories. Like I don't know if you saw the thief, but like she was getting whipped and slapped in the face in a certain section, and I was like, holy shit! Like what the fuck is going on? But then like. I had the same issue with the original Octopath, which is that some of these stories literally are just so throwaway compared to others. And so the merchant, he was just like, I don't want there to be debt in the world. And then you've got Oswald, who's like, I've been framed for the murder of my family. And it's like,
that's why I'm so excited. Because we got glimpses of that with the party banter in Octopath 1, but now they're actually going to be related into their story, so we seem like dialogue. I just can't wait for... And you know the meme where like Batman is saying, "This is where my parents died, Raphael," and then Raphael the Turtle's like, "Totally, dude." Just like just like the tonal dissonance. That like I'm just waiting for Oswald to say something super dramatic, and the merchant to be like, "Oh, sick," or even Agnia the dancer to say something. Oh, that's gonna be great. By the way, I'm also happy that this new game is it's set in a new world. It's not Orstera, which I'm fine with. Like, we're exploring Orstera again in the mobile game, which is fine. But this is gonna be like a new world, more steampunky. There's like trains, like it's the same classes but like different. I'm just so excited. It's gonna be, yeah. I don't have too much more to say. We can move on. I'm just very excited for Octopath 2. I can't wait for the demo, the inevitable demo. I need it.
Next up was Bayonetta 3. We got a new trailer, and I've seen some of the... Have I seen them? Okay, never mind. I'm not going to say that. Bayonetta 3 was the next on the list. Yeah. And it looks really good. And it looks so fun. Oh, no, I can't say that. Okay, yeah, I can't say that. So I've seen some of the... previews and gameplay previews from the game, and everyone seems to be so excited and love this game so much. Oh, one more thing about Octopath that I forgot to mention is that it is coming not only to Switch but also PC via Steam, PS5, and PS4, which is the first time that you can play an Octopath game on the PlayStation, because Octopath Traveler... Yeah, Octopath Traveler is still not available on PlayStation. So if you want to get this game for the Steam Deck, or if you want to get it for the PlayStation, it's coming out for those as well. And I'm assuming inevitably Game Pass at some point in the future, unless we don't know, unless there's some contract where PlayStation was like, "Fuck you guys, you got the original, we're getting the sequel." Who knows? Because it is. I guess if it's on PC via Steam, maybe it's a console exclusive to just Switch and who knows? Whatever. It's coming to other systems. Is what I was saying. Yeah, Bayonetta 3 looks amazing. I didn't finish 1. I didn't play 2. I am playing 3 day 1. I don't care.
I don't have too much more to add to it. I've played a decent amount of 1, and I played the demo of 2 on the Wii U. 2 definitely feels way better than 1. So my struggle is like I want to finish 1's story, because 1's okay, it's an alright game, but 2 just feels immaculate. So I know 3 is just gonna feel even better. That's just kind of where I'm at the moment. So I'll get.
If you haven't, you should check out some of the game. If you haven't, you should check out some of the gameplay previews on YouTube and through articles. They've been really, really good. Everyone's been praising it. Really. I'm sure. Actually, don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, just don't get your hopes up. Just play the game. Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm, Final Bar.
Yeah!
I loved Theater Rhythm on the 3DS. I played it to completion so many times. This one is finally coming since the 3DS. We haven't had another one since the 3DS. This was a huge shocker. 385 songs. 2 players play locally via co-op. 4 players play online together. There's a season pass that's going to add up to 90 games. We're getting things from Nier, Octopath Traveler, Live Alive, and Christy informed me, which I didn't know, that we're also getting songs from The World Ends With You. Mm-hmm. So there are a ton of Square Enix DLC titles that are going to be DLC, Square Enix titles that are going to be DLC for Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm that I'm going to buy, and I expect to be able to play 4-player online co-op with my friends on the podcast, and it's going to be a great fucking time. I'm just super, super excited to have another Theater Rhythm. This direct was literally like, what JRPG things does Jerel want? I will give them to him.
Yeah, I will say that...
Oh, and it's coming February. Sorry, it's coming February 16th, so also not too far away.
February is definitely a packed month. It's just, it's a good thing that this is like one of those games that you do a quick song or two and then you play something else. Like, you don't have to you can put a lot of time into it and set in big settings if you want to, but you can also play it in short bursts too, which is what I like about it. That's how I played Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, another rhythm game from Square Enix that was on the system. And I'm assuming it's going to play similar to how Melody of Memory did, because obviously Theater Rhythm was originally on the 3DS, so you use your touchscreen a lot to play the notes. But I'm assuming it's going to translate more to how the buttons did, how they did it for Kingdom Hearts. Is my assumption. I'm sure it's going to play fine. I'm not really too worried about it, but I'm looking forward to finally diving into it, because I've never owned Theater Rhythm. I've played it, I borrowed it and played it here and there. But at the time, I was like, oh, there's a lot of these songs I don't know, because this was way early in the 3DS life cycle when the first one came out. So there's a lot of Final Fantasy gaps that I had. So I was like, well, I'll play the songs I know, like 10, a little bit of 7, and then I'll call it a day. Now, there's a lot more songs that I recognize. So I feel like I could appreciate this game a lot more. And the fact that the DLCs, including other Square Enix games, doesn't hurt either. Like, I'm obviously gonna know some of the Nier songs now. I'm gonna know some of the Octopath and Bravely Default songs, and The World Ends with You. So that alone is very enticing to me.
Yes,
I am
yes.
more than likely gonna shell out for that deluxe edition that has all those bonus songs. So I want it all.
I mean, it's a very weird moment because of Final Fantasy 14, where a Final Fantasy song will come on, and I'll be like, "Oh my god, I know that song," and I have no idea what game it's from because I've heard the song through Final Fantasy 14, and then I've started associating them with the games. I think I just have to play 1 through 6 at this point because I've played everything else now. Um, and I was gonna pull a Brandon and pull out my copy of Theater Rhythm, but it's too far away. I know you always have your
You
copy.
don't. You don't need to. You never need to
It's
grab it
too far
again. You
away.
just gotta wait till February and you just play this.
I
You
gotta
can
wait till
just play,
February. Exactly.
you can just play
So
right there.
GoldenEye 007 is coming with online play for the first time ever on Switch. Mario Party and Pokemon Stadium, and was there another one?
Yeah, there's a few that got announced.
Oh
So,
yeah, snowboarding, Excite Bike, Mario Party 1, 2, and 3, Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2,
and
all coming to Nintendo Switch Online.
there's one more. Oh, Pilot Wing 64 as well. That's the other one.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, I'm excited. There's all of those games I'm excited to play, honestly. Mario Party especially. Like, I'm a huge Mario Party fiend, but 3 is my favorite game in the entire series. So to have that online is like like, I popped off when we did our React stream with Grayson. Like, 3 in particularly, that was... I'm just so excited for 3. But no, I'm excited to try Pilot Wings, Excite Bike. I've never tried those games before. 1080 snowboarding is fun. Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, I mean... You're not going to have the connectivity with the Game Boy games, unfortunately, but at least you can play the mini games and the rental Pokemon modes if you want to do that. But yeah, GoldenEye is a big deal. I've never owned GoldenEye myself, but I played it with a good friend back in New York. Having that online is going to be good. Now, obviously, for those who follow our Twitch streams and know that I do the Does It Hold Up series, I dare say that GoldenEye 007 is probably going to be the most of all the N64 games we're doing is the one I'm most intrigued to see if it holds up, because obviously GoldenEye 007 is a very important video game for what it did to the first person shooter genre, and while its historical significance cannot be denied, my biggest question is if it's still fun to play today. And that's, look forward to when that episode eventually comes out, because it's going to be very, very interesting. But either way, even if it's not the best, the fact that game, the quote, the first person shooter for a lot of first person shooter for a lot of people finally having online play is a cool thing. Either way.
So some other things I'm just gonna mention here are we got the Wave 3 announcement for Mario Kart 8. We got the free golf update for Nintendo Switch Sports. We got Diddy Kong and Paulina coming to Mario Strikers Battle League. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is getting Wave 2 of its DLC. The first Splatfest was announced, which is going to be Gear, Grub, or Fun. And Resident Evil, a bunch of Resident Evils are coming to the Switch via cloud gaming, which is going to be trash. Or maybe it's going to be good. We got a bunch of Life Sims. Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life is getting a remake as Story of
So many
Seasons, A
farming
Wonderful
games.
Life. Fae Farm is an RPG that's coming. Harvestella got a demo that's out. We found out that you could be non-binary in Harvestella, which was awesome. Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse is coming to the West for the first time. Tunic Adventures is coming to Switch. Now it's going to be on everything. It Takes Two is also coming to Switch. Sifu's coming to Switch. Front Mission 1 remake and Front Mission 2 remakes got announced. Atelier Rizia 3, Alchemist at the End, and The Secret Key is coming to Switch. Tales of Symphonia Remastered is coming to Switch. Danganronpa creators announced a game called Rain Code, Master Detective Archives Rain Code. SpongeBob SquarePants, The Cosmic Shake, Rune Factory 3, Various Daylife, Radiant Silvergun, a ton of other games. I'm not going to go through all of them. Is there any... Just Dance. Oh, I gotta mention Just Dance and Fitness Boxing. Endless Dungeon. Oddballers. Honestly, I think I just mentioned most of them anyway. All right, is there any in there that you want to... Oh, we're probably not gonna be able to go through the PlayStation one today. We might have to save that till next week. But is there any in there that you want to talk about? I do want to talk about the Danganronpa one really quickly, but were there any that I mentioned that you want to bring up?
I'll talk about that one with you as well when you get into it. But Tales of Symphonia Remastered coming to Switch is cool. I played the GameCube one, but I never owned it, so I'm looking forward to actually getting some actual time with it. Other than that, yeah, just a lot of different games that I might grab. But
Yeah.
that's the I guess Tales. I guess of the ones you mentioned, Tales is the main one. I was curious about Various Daylight, but I want a demo of that because I was like, oh, that looks cool, but I don't know much about it. And the trailer told me nothing. So I went to see if there's a demo. There wasn't. And that game is like $30. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to wait. I'm busy with a lot of games anyway. Yeah.
Only thing I'll mention there is I don't want to go into any of the other details because I still want to talk about the presentation as a whole, and we still got Zelda. But only thing I want to talk about is Splatoon 3. I am already disappointed with the first choice, Gear Grub or Fun, that you're gonna take. It's what you would take to an island, and I was like, I low key prefer 2 because if I'm not mistaken, I haven't played Splatoon like with friends in a long time. If I'm not mistaken, we all have to go to the same team to be able to play together, right? And get the same color. So now splitting us up into 3s is like, I'm like, oh no, this is probably going to be worse than it was when we were 2s. And I'm already underwhelmed with this first one, Gear Grubber Fun, but it is what it is. Yeah, a lot of that stuff that was coming is nice. And the big standout to me also was obviously the from the Danganronpa creators, the Master Detective Archives Rain Code, because it is not set in the Danganronpa universe. It is a brand new IP where you play as a detective solving crimes. I love Danganronpa. I played all 3. I know you also love Danganronpa, and I've also played all 3. I finally caught up with you. I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't in the same. First of all, the game looks great. Mm-hmm. It looks so much better than V3 did, and V3 looked good. Like you could see the progression of how they've like worked on the graphics and the game as a whole. This game looks really, really good. Like it is leagues above the last Danganronpa in the series. So that was already exciting. I'm not so sold on the gameplay yet. Because it looks like we're gonna be doing. So one of the things that I hated in Danganronpa was like slashing through the words the right way. It was my least favorite thing to do, and that was like one of the biggest things that they showed off was like slashing through the truth. And I was like, I don't know how the gameplay is going to be comparatively, and I'm not sure I'm sold on it, but I will be playing it.
Yeah, big same.
What do you think?
Yeah, big same, especially since I actually did like slashing through the words.
I hated it. Oh my god,
that was one of my favorite mechanics that they added for Danganronpa 2 specifically. Like, because obviously the game is always revolved around shooting the truth, basically, and then they added slashing with 2, and then more mechanics with 3. Minor tangent. V3 they added like this thing called Scrum Debate, where it was like the half of the class against the other half of the class. That was such a cool mechanic. That was such a cool mechanic, but they barely used it. Because
I know. I like that one.
I really wish they used that more. If there's anything equivalent to like that in this new game, I'll take it.
But that's the weird part. Like, it looks like we're playing as a single individual, so we're not going to have... And that's kind of where I'm like, I wish that I had... Because one of the things I loved about Danganronpa is solving all the cases from the characters that you know, right? It was those connections that you made with these students that, like, once they died, you really felt the impact. And so this so far just seems to be a detective solving random crimes. So I feel like it's not going to have that same pull that Danganronpa did have. And then we don't get a lot of the cool things like you mentioned, which was, being able to talk to all the students, get to know them, do different things like the scrum battles, and see their deaths and really make an impact on it. So I'm excited. I'm cautiously excited.
Yeah,
honestly, I just wish it was a new Danganronpa game, low key. Like, just make another one.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wish it was too, but I do also want them to try new things too.
Try something new, yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. Just put it in a time that's not too crowded, please.
Say what?
I said don't put it in the first half of the year because I need some space.
Did they have a release date for it?
They did.
Spring 2023.
Spring. Okay. Be careful where you put it in spring. Just that's all I ask. Be careful.
I'm also excited for Harvestella, but that's all I'm gonna say on that. I'm just excited for it. I haven't played the demo yet. Haven't had time, but definitely get into that one. So there are two more that I want to mention, and then we have to talk about the direct as a whole. The first one is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion,
Oh
coming
yeah.
December 13th at the end of this year. Stay tuned to HP Critical. Christy's going to be covering that one for us. Very, very excited for it. It'll be officially announced released, excuse me, on Switch. And other platforms. I think it's coming everywhere on December 13th. It looks really,
Yes.
really great. I'm super excited for that one. I did not have the pleasure of playing the original Crisis Core, so I am very,
Same.
very excited to be able to get into all that Crisis Core is. I played through the original FF7 like 2 years ago or something. I don't need to go on this tangent. I'm very excited for Crisis Core. On this, I think because of the graphics, I'm gonna be getting it on Switch, just because the graphics are not on par with Final Fantasy VII Remake, but they look really good. And the OLED Switch, I'm blessed enough to have. I think I might be getting it on Switch. Brandon, what console are you getting this game on?
Dude, I'm glad you asked me that, and also hate that you asked me that because I actually don't know yet. Because like, I talked to this with Grayson on the reaction stream. Like, I know it's gonna look really good on the PlayStation, so I'm tempted to get that one. But this was originally a handheld game, and I feel like I would want to play it on the go. I think if it doesn't look much worse than the PlayStation version, I'll eat the difference because I do want to play this, be able to play this whenever. Because frankly, I just play my Switch more than my PlayStation these days anyway, just because of how my lifestyle is these days. But like, if it's a big difference, then I'm just gonna do it on PlayStation. But I really want to be able to take it on the go. Real quick, Christy says, I'm just gonna cry my heart out with Crisis Core. And one Kyle, aka Ninja Hippie Pirate, says, I'm super excited to see all of you. We're excited to see you. Thanks for coming, man.
Hey, um,
So I'm undecided to answer your question. There's a non-zero chance I may double dip, but I really don't want to. I want to pick a version.
I'm not double dipping. Life is hard. But I will say it does not look as good. I feel like I'm making it sound like it looks amazing. It looks good, but it does not look amazing, and that is what is making me probably go with a Switch, just because OLED screen on the go is really, really excuse me, really nice. Or maybe Steam Deck. Who knows? Nah, nah. I know it's probably gonna be Switch. So finally, the Legend of Zelda, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was announced. There was not a lot here. However, if you go online anywhere, you will probably not believe me. But like, because it's like everyone's making a lot of everything. There wasn't too much here. I know you and Gabe had an entire conversation. He's not here, so I'm not going to even bring up the lore dumping and issues or anything. But we finally got a title for it and a release date, and it looks damn good. May 12th, 2023. And now I just need to finish Breath of the Wild. It really made me want to go finish Breath of the Wild, so I'm pretty excited. What did you think of Tears of the Kingdom?
I'm very happy that we finally got the title of this game because people were just like going behind the scenes, just like what is this title? They said it's gonna spoil. By the way, I don't think Tears of the Kingdom really spoils anything. I can't figure out what the plot of this game is gonna be by Tears of the Kingdom. I can speculate. Me and Gabe did our share of that. I'm not gonna get into that. But again, we don't know, so I don't know. Maybe it's more the logo that got them, but I like the title. I'm glad that we have a release date, so I can know a day to put down for it. Because I'm taking that whole day off. Because I'm playing. That day is just for playing Tears of the Kingdom and nothing else, and just doing it. No, it wasn't a real long trailer. We saw a little more. The world just really seems really big. Looking at this trailer, as brief as it was, does give me a better sense of why it's taking so long to make this game, because they're not just doing the they're not just doing the Breath of the Wild map again and adding a few new things and calling it a day. There's like
Huge.
There's like an entire world above what they've already made. And as Gabe pointed out, it's not a huge difference in graphic style, but it does look slightly better because now it's actually being developed for the Switch as opposed to the Wii U, like the first one was.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it's they may have intended it to be a quick sequel, but it's definitely more ambitious than initial thoughts may have implied it to be. Very excited for this game. Short trailer.
It looks huge.
It does look like a big world. Like that's a game that I want to dedicate the month of May to that game. Basically, like I'm dedicating not only that one day that it comes out, but the month of May. I don't care what I'm playing. It's getting dropped when Tears of the Kingdom comes out. Like the only thing that may stay in my hand is if 16 also comes out that month, and I hope it doesn't. Final Fantasy 16, that is. But yeah.
I'm gonna still be playing Pokemon, probably.
I better be done with
Uh,
Pokemon by then. That's May. I better be. If not,
I
I'm
will
gonna
still
be.
be doing Pokemon battles. Yeah, so I had some news also today that I'm just gonna mention now. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. But Yakuza 8 was officially announced. Y'all know I love Yakuza like a dragon, so I was
Yeah.
super excited for Yakuza 8. And The Sims 4 is going free to play in October, so that'll be fun. And finally, let's talk about the direct as a whole. Maybe we'll bring those up next week. Let's talk about the direct as a whole. Brandon,
Hmm.
how did you feel about the Nintendo Direct for September 2022?
Yes. Before I read that, Kyle's saying he's saying for Zelda they didn't need to show much. They gave us a date, and that's all we need. For now, yeah, I think so. I think having a date for now is good. They have plenty of time to show us more stuff.
No, I completely agree with him.
I'm sure closer to time they'll have a Zelda focused direct. Like I have no doubt of that. They don't
Don't
need,
do it.
if like what's this 9 months still before the game comes out. They have time, so I'm not worried about it. Anyway, yeah. To answer your question, the direct as a whole, pacing wise, it was
Oh,
very
wait,
good.
first I have to say that I hope that they don't do it. I hope that they. I think one of the best parts about Breath of the Wild was just that it was so open and so freeing, and they didn't tell you what to do. And I hope that they really restrain themselves. I hope they pull a Pokemon and they really restrain themselves on what they do show off and let people discover, because people are still discovering things from Breath of the Wild. I really hope they let people discover on their own what the game's about. Okay, go ahead.
You know what? I suddenly changed my mind now that you said that. I instead of a Zelda direct per se, I'd rather they do a treehouse. And the reason why I say that is because in the E3 where they got the reveal name of Breath of the Wild, all they did was show gameplay of them in the Great Plateau. Which if you play
Hmm.
Breath of the Wild, that's nothing. Just the Great
Yeah,
Plateau, and that gives you a sense of the gameplay. You get to see how much openness you can do. You get to see a few shrines, but that doesn't show you anything of the game. So I think
exactly.
if they do that for Tears of the Kingdom, a treehouse just kind of doing that, showing off the
Exactly.
verticality. I think I'd rather have that. They'll probably still direct anyway, but I think I'd rather just do a treehouse. Anyway, yeah, direct. Yeah. So pacing wise, I think the direct was very good. As far as the content, now there's a lot of stuff in that direct that I think appealed to you and I a lot. Like there's a lot that we got very excited about. But there's also a lot of stuff that I don't think. There's a lot of, for example, there's a lot of farming games on this direct, for example. And if you're not into farming games, then there's a lot of this direct that's just like you just kind of like, oh, okay. And also, if you're not into if that between this and the state of play, which we're going to talk about next podcast, there was definitely a large focus on like Japanese made games, which seems appropriate since Tokyo Game Show is coming up. Again, big appeal to us. I just feel like if there's someone who's like not as open to like farming games or Japanese games, they're gonna come out of this direct feeling like it was bad. I've already seen people say this was not a good direct, or seen people that say this is a mediocre direct. I disagree personally because I was pretty excited with most of what I've seen, but I think if we're talking about variety of stuff, maybe the variety wasn't as good, even if the pacing was good. But I love this direct. Like if you're asking me my personal opinion, it was a fantastic direct, one of my favorites.
Brandon.
Because there was a start off great with Fire Emblem, powerful middle with Octopath Traveler 2. They knew that was like one of their biggest sellers on Switch when it was a Switch exclusive. And then they ended strong with Zelda. Oh, and they threw in, and Kirby Anniversary threw some Kirby stuff, like a little stuff like NSO. Like there's a lot of, I think there was a lot of big announcements there. DLC on games that are already out. Like
Okay.
I think there's very little there that was bad personally.
I completely disagree with you on the no variety. Just because I think people are getting hung up on the fact that there were a lot of farming sims, which there were, but Pikmin 4 is nothing like Fitness Boxing, which is nothing like Just Dance, which is nothing like Bayonetta 3, which is nothing like the new Danganronpa game, our spiritual successor of Danganronpa, which is not going to be like the SpongeBob game, which is nothing like Pokemon Stadium, which is nothing like 007, like, and I can continue, which is not like Octopath, which is not a tactical RPG like a Fire Emblem, which is nothing like Fatal Frame. Like like all of those things are very very different distinct
Yeah,
genres, and even if it's cloud version, no, like the closest Fatal Frame is going to be compared to is Resident Evil, and like you cannot compare Resident Evil and Splatoon 3 and Xenoblade Chronicles or any of those with like a sports game like Mario Strikers. And then they threw in Final Fantasy. Like like
yeah,
there was a lot of variety. Yes, there were a lot of farming simulators, but there was also Kirby. Like
yeah.
that's like
No, you're right.
yeah,
You're right. You're right. I think
I
people
think
are. I
there's a
think
lot of
people are
variety.
getting. I think a lot of people are getting hung up by. They see a lot of things and they assume that, and they by hyperbole they assume that's the whole direct. You're right. No, there's a good
Yeah.
amount of variety of other stuff too.
Which I loved, because I do think that this was, first of all, I love that the direct was 40 minutes because I think it gave people enough time to find something they would have enjoyed from the direct. And I think this direct, one of the reasons it's one of my favorites is because even though I didn't like everything in there, I feel like there were, first of all, Theater Rhythm is another one that's nothing like, it's a different genre as well. But I think that there was at least something, or at least I would say at least two things that everybody can come from and enjoy, right? Like even if you don't like farming simulators, maybe it's gonna be Bayonetta 3 and what's another action game that they announced? Maybe it's Bayonetta 3 and Resident Evil coming to Switch. Maybe those are the two for you, right? Maybe it's two farming games for you. Maybe it's tactical games, so maybe it's Fire Emblem and Octopath for you. Maybe it's Theater Rhythm and Just Dance. I feel like there was such a great variety that anyone who says the direct is bad is trying to say it's bad at this point, because this direct was so vastly different in a form of being able to show off so many different games. Like there was something for everybody. I think this is truly a direct where I feel like I can confidently say that there was something for everybody. There have been directs where I don't feel that way. This one I do feel like, yeah, there was something for everybody, and that's despite me liking a lot of it myself. Like I think that if you looked hard, you can just go play at this point. Like just go play 007 online for the nostalgia. That's still worth something. The nostalgia factor was huge for everything coming to N64 later on. You were talking about how excited you were for Mario Party 1, 2, and 3, right? Like there was definitely something for everyone. But the biggest and best thing about this direct, which is what I love when they do this for directs, is when they mention that demos are out now, games are out now, and all of these games, almost all of them, have release dates within the next 5 months.
Yes, and that was very good. Like when they said it was focused on like games mostly in winter 2023, they mostly meant that. Like it is a lot of games that are coming out at the end of the year and then like early next year. Which, when you think about it, if you talk about the first 3 or so months of 2024, I mean that's still technically the holiday season of that year because it's still winter. So you know.
Yeah, and I always say that is one of my favorite things that Nintendo does is they hold on to their games until they're almost ready. They tell
It's
us about them, they
yeah,
give us a demo, and then we can play them.
it's
Uh,
wild to me that they've been sitting on a Fire Emblem for so long that it's coming out in only 4 months. Like
exactly. Like
three
that's crazy.
three houses for context. It was announced that a new Switch Fire Emblem game was coming out in 2017. We got our first trailer for the actual game in 2018, and then in 2019 it came out. So that was announced 2 years ahead of time. We got this game announced, and it's coming out in 4 months. That's great.
Yeah, I could, I could go down the list, but even Octopath is in the next 5 months. That's something we didn't know they were working on. Nobody knew, like what's next for Octopath. That game comes out in like the next 5 months.
Yeah,
And you compare this with something like the Xbox, the recent Xbox presentation where the next games aren't coming out for like 2 years. um and it's why I am very excited, and it's why I love directs, because those developers on these directs are very open to providing demos as well. So if a game is not coming out, they do want your feedback, they want you to try it, they want to know how it works, which is always a good thing. Lots of updates for DLC for games that we also already own that we're still playing, including things like Splatoon. So that's another good one. Splatfest is coming up in 2 weeks, I think, or a week or 2 weeks.
a
So
week actually.
Splatfest in a week. So like, while you wait for all these games, enjoy the Splatfest. And yeah, a lot of these just coming out so quickly is another reason that I really love watching directs and why this one was just so good because if there's something here you want, you don't have to wait too long to play it.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
overall it was just a really wonderful presentation. I was so excited. I wanted to watch it twice, but I was too busy to watch it twice, so I skipped to the parts that I really enjoyed. And then we just keep seeing more stuff coming out from it, and like more videos coming out. I posted the 4 minute video of Octopath Traveler 2. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but
Yeah.
it was going over the warrior and the dancer. It was all in Japanese, of course, but it was going over the warrior and the dancer, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's even more content. Like, and then you were also just mentioning right before the podcast about the YouTube video for what was it that
Theater
goes
rhythm.
into more. There we go. Theater Rhythm. Another one that has even more information already out there. People are just, you just got to go find it. It's like waiting for you. There's so much ready for us. And I'm just so excited. This really, truly felt like, the E3 presentation from Nintendo. And now I just want to play Pokemon. I'm just going to play Pokemon until then. And then I'm just going to go play all these games. There's too many games. There's too many games.
There really is too many
There's
games.
too many games. I don't have enough time. I want to go play things right now.
I
I want to finish Breath of the Wild.
You should. You should.
I went from hating that game to loving it, and now I just need to finish it so that I can be ready for Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm excited for you to tell me your thoughts of Breath of the Wild once you have finished it. You gotta
I mean,
finish.
I've loved it so far.
You
I only
got
have one more Divine Beast.
okay. You also got to finish the second. You don't have to do the first DLC of Breath of the Wild because that's just really hard trial stuff with no story. But the second DLC you should because there's more story there that you should see. It's worth it. It's worth it. There's some cool stuff in the second DLC pack. So there's that
Aye, aye.
too.
All right, so we have 5 minutes left, Brandon.
Mhm.
Um, I'll do a quick. What have you been playing?
Oh, what have I been playing? Well, Splatoon 3, a lot of it since it's come out because I'm going to be throwing out some.
Without me, we have yet to play together.
We haven't, and I'm very sad about that, but we will soon because not only because I want to play with you, but also it'd be nice to have some extra information for the review that I'm going to be doing in a few weeks time. But also impressions are coming out soon, so I want to make sure I have some stuff. Yesterday, it's funny. I went out to lunch with my friend Zach, and while we were out having lunch, we brought our Switches with us, and we had some local play. It's not only because we wanted to, but also because I wanted to test out the local play for the impressions piece coming out. So technically, it was a business lunch. Har har har. Anyway,
Was
um,
like, is that local play not online?
local play not online. Yeah, there. Splatoon 3 does have it. Like if you have if each person has a Switch and a copy of the game, then you can do local as well. It's
So
better.
it's just you versus whoever you're with.
Yeah, so because it was just he and I, it was a 1v1 match in Turf
Hmm.
War, and then we teamed up to do Summoner, which is way harder with two people, but you get to choose whichever weapon you want. So, give and take there. So that's fun. I've been playing a lot of Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent. Interesting thing about that game, it starts off as open as the first one does in a way, because you get to choose one of the three routes, wealth, power, or fame. But once you finish those stories, the story gets way more linear, which I kind of like, but also kind of like, But I like where the story's going. It's dark as hell. If you're a big fan of like how Octopath 1 got real dark with stories like Oberic and Primrose's story, holy shit! It goes to some
I hope
it
so.
goes to some dark places in that game. Like I do recommend if you're a fan of Octopath to try out Champions of the Continent. It's gotcha, but you don't really have to engage with that whatsoever. The game gives you enough stuff for free that you can get through the regular story without having to pay anything. I have put money in just because I really like the game, but you don't have to. You don't
What,
have to.
Brandon?
I don't regret it, man. It's
How much money did you spend on this game, if you don't mind me asking?
no comment. I will tell you after the podcast.
Okay. I went and bought Pokemon cards, so I spent money on nonsense that I enjoy, so it's fine.
Well, there you go. So yeah, honestly those have been like the two main ones. I guess has been Octopath and
It's
Splatoon.
Splatoon.
Yeah, I would say so.
Man, I am so close, I think, to finishing Tales of Arise. I've just been annoyingly busy every time I sit down to play it. So
Yeah.
Tales of Arise is close to being done, and then I'm gonna hop back into the Zelda train. I've also been playing Digimon Survive, which is also really dark. I don't want to say really dark, but uh, I've got some bad ending vibes, and I'm not at the ending yet. Like some
Oh
things have
no.
happened, and I'm like, oh dear. I think I'm at a point where I'm gonna start over, and I don't want to start over. But I
No.
feel like I'm gonna start over. I'm gonna lose all the Digimon that I caught. No, Brandon, you don't understand. The story has gotten really bad. Like I need to save these children, and it's not
Okay.
happening the way it should happen. So I'm gonna end up
Okay.
having to start over because I refuse to replay. I don't like replaying games. I refuse to play through New Game Plus. So I need to rewind some things and make some things work. But those are the two that I've been playing. I played Splatoon for maybe like an hour, Splatoon 3 for like an hour, and I was able to play with a friend of the show, Nolan, for a little bit, and then I had to get off. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having some Splatoon matches with you in the future.
We'll make it
Um,
happen.
and yeah, we gotta figure out what team we're all going on for the Splatfest, which is gonna be annoying.
And then we'll do that. Hey, that might be something we do this coming Friday. Not, no, sorry, not this coming Friday because this Friday there is no Splatfest, but maybe the following Friday.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think that might be the
It's gonna be
plan.
annoying because there are too many options. All right,
Ah,
and with that, we have hit our marker on time. So thank you, Brandon. It has been a wonderful podcast. I love Nintendo, love PlayStation, love Xbox, love all you listeners, love my wonderful co-hosts, love everyone at HP Critical. Which, if you haven't checked it out, please do hpcritical.com. You will find a link to all the episodes for the podcast on there. Each episode is going to have its own article, and you can find us on iTunes, Amazon, Audible, Google Play, Spotify, basically anywhere that you listen to podcasts, as well as YouTube and, of course, on Twitch with the VOD later on. And with that, I'm tired.
same.
So good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.